I don't know if you know, but the climate's horrible, and that's why we have a Democratic Party to help the climate. Look what this is. This is a fire tornado. That's a fire tornado in Northern California.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
Look at that. Fire tornado. More than 100,000 acres burned in Colorado as firefighters battle 4 major wildfires. That's from August 15. The California ISO declared a stage 3 emergency and implemented rolling blackouts as temperatures reached triple digits in many parts of the state. That's in California. Remember, California, was it the 5th largest economy in the world? 6th?
But they can't afford hiring a full-fledged firefighting team.
Can't
afford it.
In case you didn't know what happened in Iowa, there were 145 mile per hour winds, which is equivalent to a Category 4 hurricane. Hurricane. I said it. Hurricane. 10 million acres of crops flattened, 4 days without power or cell service. Gas stations sold out of gas, tens of millions of dollars in damages, a city in shambles, barely any news coverage. I saw a headline about it. I didn't read about it, but there it is. For the first time in history, a tornado warning has been issued for a likely fire tornado. These are not fire whirls. This is a rotating smoke plume being ingested into a psychocumulonimbus cloud that could produce a bona fide fire-induced tornado. Tornadic wind speeds. Wow. So that's some pretty extreme climate stuff. Guess what the Democrats are doing? Democrats quietly cut opposition to fossil fuel subsidies from the DNC platform. Immoral, criminal, inexcusable. Climate groups furious as the DNC drops support for ending fossil fuel handouts from platform. It's outrageous that the Democratic establishment is caving to big money donors and moving backwards on fossil fuel subsidies. Backwards. Emily Atkin noted that taxpayers currently pay at least $20 billion a year to prop up the fossil fuel industry. Though, depending on how you calculate it, it's as high as $649 billion. We are nearing a global tipping point on climate. Fires and extreme weather are killing people and devastating the economy. And the DNC can't even accept an end to public subsidies that are making it worse, said Annie Leonard of Greenpeace USA. This is a longstanding demand of climate activists that both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris claimed to support during the primary. The DNC's reversal on fossil fuel subsidies came after the body in August 2018 approved Chairman Tom Perez's resolution that reversed a DNC policy prohibiting it from accepting contributions from fossil fuel PACs. Shortly thereafter, donations from fossil fuel executives began flowing into the DNC coffers. In August of 2019, the DNC had received at least $60,000 from owners and executives of fossil fuel companies, including Crum Oil, Duke Energy, or Crum Oil, Duke Energy, and Southern Petroleum Resources. That figure has almost certainly increased dramatically since. Fossil fuel lobbyists have also been appointed to powerful DNC committee positions by Tom Perez. Really? How many fossil fuel lobbyists have been appointed to powerful DNC committees? Well, the DNC's associate chairman is Jamie Harrison. He's a former lobbyist for the American Coalition for Clean Coal Electricity. Tanya Burgos, a well-known fossil fuel lobbyist in New York and New Jersey, serves on the DNC's Executive Committee and Budget and Finance Committee. More? You want more? For more than a decade, Burgos lobbied for Williams Companies as it sought to win approval for its so-called Northeast Supply Enhancement Pipeline project that would run beneath New York Harbor and delivered fracked gas from Pennsylvania exclusively to the National Grid Utility Company. The DNC's Deputy National Finance Chair is Chris Lowe, who is the Chief Investment Officer at Steel River Infrastructure Partners. I'll read that again. The DNC's Deputy National Finance Chair is Chris Lowe. And who is Chris Lowe? Well, he's the Chief Investment Officer at Steel River Infrastructure Partners. Lowe is also a member of the DNC Budget and Finance Committee. The Democratic Party's law firm, Perkins Co., also works for the fossil fuel industry's interests. Besides providing legal representation for companies including Texaco, Northwestern Natural Gas, Conoco, TransCanada, and Valero, Perkins Co. is lobbying for the industry against environmental regulations that many Democratic voters support. Jeff Berman gets worse. A DNC member appointed by Tom Perez to the Rules and Bylaws Committee. Who is he? Well, he's a former lobbyist with the law firm Bryan Cave LLP, who lobbied for oil pipeline company TransCanada for the Keystone XL pipeline. How about Charlie King? He's a DNC member appointed by Tom Perez to the Resolutions Committee, which voted against holding a presidential debate last year focused on the climate crisis. That guy is a partner at Mercury Public Affairs, which lobbied for several oil and gas industry clients last year, including Penn East Pipeline and the drilling company Enven Energy Ventures. So here's what voters want government to invest in the climate crisis, not in corporations. So you can see cutting the Trump tax cuts for corporations. You see 36% strongly support cutting Trump tax cuts for corporations. Reducing incentives for tax havens, 34%. So you have a plurality on all these things. Closing corporate tax code loopholes and ending subsidies for fossil fuel companies, 33% want them to do that. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden has proposed $1.7 trillion federal investment to fund his climate plan. Please indicate which you support or oppose the following methods to pay for it. So to pay for his plan, people want to cut Trump's tax cuts for corporations. They want to reduce incentives for tax havens. They want to close corporate tax code loopholes, and they want to end subsidies for fossil fuel companies. Well, the Democrats aren't going to do that because they have them all on their committees. And guess what? We should definitely not end fossil fuel subsidies. It was 106 yesterday in Los Angeles. Air quality, unhealthy. So that's great. You got a Democratic Party. Come on. Okay, and don't you get, I don't. So there's a third party starting in America. If it's called the Movement for a People's Party, Nick Braun. It's August 30th. We're having a convention. It'll be streamed live on this channel. The Democratic Party is not a political party in the traditional sense. A political party is where it's formed to represent the interests of the people that it's representing. The Democratic Party is not there to represent the interests of the people that it wants to vote for them. They're there to represent the interests of the establishment and the oligarchs because it's one big revolving door money wheel that runs politics. And that was a big example of it. That's a big example of how big money runs politics. And so the Democratic Party is just, it's an organization set up to dupe you into thinking there's an opposition party in America and that the establishment oligarchs and Wall Street and the corporations aren't running your prep, but they are. The Democratic Party is a ruse. They're not really a party, and they don't really represent you. And the fact that people can, with a straight face, say you have to vote for them to help people of color. Now who's being naive, Kay? We had a black president. What the fuck did he do for people of color in this country? I remember Cornel West and Tavis Smiley had to go on a goddamn tour across the country just to get people's awareness up that Barack Obama wasn't doing a fucking thing to help people, especially people of color. He kicked them out of their houses is what he did. When Wall Street crashed, he kicked them out of their houses. That's what Barack Obama did for poor black and brown people. And then he gave them a health care plan that made their health care still unaffordable, so they didn't get any more access. That's what corrupt Barack Obama did. You got to vote Democrat. So you're just some kind of person who doesn't care about the other. I care about the other, which is why I'm voting for Joe Biden, who incarcerated black people. Ruined the environment, dropped bombs on people of color all over the goddamn globe, took us from 2 wars to 7, made the banks bigger, opened the Arctic to drilling twice. That's why I'm voting for Joe Biden, because he's better than Donald Trump. I voted for Joe Biden because I care about poor black and brown people. You are a fucking idiot if you say that. And turns out the country's full of it, full of idiots. Like half the country at least is a certain kind of idiot. And then it seems like, well, that's not true. Half the voting public. Because the biggest voting block is 100 million people who don't vote. So that's not half. So then the next biggest voting block are people who are not affiliated with a political party. Hey, everybody, this is the part where I tell you where all our live shows are, but there aren't any. And then this is why I tell you to join our premium program and get extra content, but nobody's got a fucking job. So just enjoy the video.